Hello and welcome. This is Fitscope. My name is Alessandra and I will be guiding you through a 25-minute core sequence. So this is accessible to all levels and we're not going to be using any props. So we're just going to fire up your belly. It's going to be great for your obliques, your core, your front part, and your back body as well. So you're going to start lying down on your backs, please. So you can lay down on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the mat. Just taking a moment here, so no matter how short the practice is, I say this all the time, but you always take a moment to arrive. So we take a moment to arrive, and at the end we take a moment to settle, right? So just coming into the space, feet flat on the mat. You can even bring your feet as wide as the mat. Bring your knees to knock in towards one another. Bring your hands onto your body, maybe one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Bring the eyes to close if that feels okay. Just taking a moment here to come into your breath. That just means settling your energy, settling the mind, bringing your awareness to your breath. With your hands on your body, you can feel your breath moving beneath your hands. To help build some heat today, in this short sequence, you can start to develop your ujjayi breath, that base of the throat breath, in and out through the nose, just slight constriction of the back of the throat. And even though you're starting to introduce a stronger heat building breath, can there be total relaxation in the face? Great. Let's get started right away. So you can bring your feet a little closer together now and separate your knees and actually walk the feet out away from your sit bones so there's more of a right angle between your calves and your thighs. Then bring both hands on your low belly, low belly, front hip points. And I want you to notice already here, there might be a little bit of a natural curve in your low back that's allowing your low back to lift away from the mat. Just a little bit, there can be a teensy little pea under there. So we're going to exaggerate that action. So bring your hands onto your low belly. On an inhale, I want you to tilt your pelvis forward and lift your low back away from the mat. Your hips are staying on the mat. You're just tilting the frontal hip points forward so the low back really raises away from the mat. And on an exhale, I want you to flatten that low back to the mat. And I want your knees to stay hips distance. So be mindful if those knees kind of splay out to the sides or anything. And just connecting that with your breath. Inhale, tilt pelvis forward, low belly lifts, or low belly reaches forward, low back lifts. Exhale, flatten the low back to the mat. So whole back flattens to the mat. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale, tilt forward. And exhale, flatten that space. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale, close the low back to the mat. And last time, inhale. And exhale, flatten that back to the mat. And then just find neutral. So just a little bit of both of those things. The low back maybe lifts a little bit away from the mat without overarching. Then interlace your hands behind your head. And actually have those fingers behind your neck just to maintain the natural curve of your neck. We're going to do a couple of just standard crunches here. I want your elbows to stay out to the sides. And I want you to think nose and chest up towards the ceiling rather than towards your legs. And on an exhale, you lift head and chest. Exhale, lift. Inhale, bring it back down. Just simple crunches. Let's go for 25. Exhale. Bring it back down. That's 2. Exhale. 3. Keeping that space between your chin and the chest. Exhale. 4. And keep going. Trying to connect this with your breath. Elbows stay out to the sides. Engaging your belly as you rise. Try not to just pull with your hands on your head. I'm at my last 5. I'm not watching you, so if you stopped, that's obviously okay. See if you can go for 5 more. So I'm at 25. I hope that you are too. You can reach your arms down by your sides. Just hug your knees in towards your chest for a moment, taking a moment. Hopefully that's started to build some heat in your belly. You can rock a little bit side to side if that feels okay. Plant your feet onto the mat. Scoot your hips a little bit towards the right. Bring your knees back into your chest and drop your knees towards the left as you extend your arms out to the sides. Just a little twist to release that work in the belly for a moment. And gently bring it back to center. And plant the feet for a moment. Scooch those hips towards the left. Bring your knees in towards your chest again. Drop the knees to the right. Trying to square your shoulders onto the mat. It's early in the practice, so you don't have to have this be a huge twist. Arms out to the side, just kind of falling into this shape. And gently bring it back to center. For a brief moment, plant your feet onto the mat, centering out through your hips. So now I want your feet, your heels to be under your knees and feet or hips distance apart. I know you can't see them. Just have a general sense of what that is. Usually if you reach for the backs of your heels and could just barely graze them, that's usually a good distance to have. Upper arms plant into the mat down by your side, and your forearms can lift. Just 2 brief bridge poses here, just briefly. Inhale, lift the hips up, pressing through the feet. Lift low, belly towards your face. Inner thighs draw down. You release your sitting muscles by lifting your low belly towards your face. Press into those arms. Scooch the flesh of your shoulders under the body a little bit, just to lift your chest further up. Trying to stretch through the belly muscles a little bit. Then exhale, vertebra by vertebra, bring it back down. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale, lift hips, planting through the feet, inner foot heavy, inner thighs draw down. Scooch the flesh of your shoulders under the body, not away from your ears though, just under the body to maintain that nice curve of your neck. Inner thighs draw down, low belly lifts. Gently release that vertebra by vertebra, bringing it back down. Just hugging your knees in towards your chest. Reach your left arm up and back behind you. And rock to your left side, bringing yourself up to all fours. Just 3 brief cat-cows here before we get into more belly work. Knees under your hips, shoulders over your wrists, fingers are spread wide. Just 3 big cat-cows. Continue to stretch that belly and start to connect movement with breath and warm up your spine. Inhale, heart reaches forward, belly towards the floor, big stretch. Exhale, round through the whole spine, press the floor away from you. Inhale, heart reaches forward. And exhale, round. And last time, heart reaches forward. And exhale, round. Finding a neutral position in the spine. Extending your right leg back behind you. You can bring all 5 toes to touch onto the mat for a moment, like curling them under. Then reach your left arm forward, and then lifting from the inner thigh, reach that left or right leg up just to the height of your hip. So reaching in both directions, coming into a couple of little crunches here. So exhale, knee to elbow, coming in. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee to elbow. Extend, inhale. Exhale, knee to elbow. And we'll do that 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale. And exhale, knee to elbow. Extend through both limbs. One last time. Reach, low belly lifts, inner thigh draws up, and then exhale, bring the hand and the shin down. Then exhale, bring that left leg back behind you. Curl all 5 toes into the mat first. Then reach your right arm forward just to the height of your shoulder. Pinky edge faces down, palm faces in. Then inner thigh draws up and you lift that left heel just to the height of your hip. Reach through the heel, reach through the fingertips, lift low belly. Exhale, bring it in for a crunch. Inhale, reach. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, reach. Exhale, bring it in. Last 2. Inhale. And exhale. Last time, inhale. And exhale. And extend one last time, just getting length through those side bodies. And bring the hand down and the shin down. And so now I want you to extend your right leg back behind you, followed by your left. So you're coming into a plank pose. Plank pose, top of a push-up. Your shoulders are over your wrists. You're reaching back through the heels. Inner thighs draw up towards the sky. Low belly lifts. Heart reaches forward. Pressing through all 10 fingers, through the whole hand. There's a little action of trying to bunch up the mat between your hands. Option to bring the knees down if you'd like. Knees down. So if the knees are down, they're further back from your hips, so you're not quite on all fours. The knees are further back. Or you keep the legs extended. And then bring the knees down. Bring your knees a little wider than your hips, big toes touch, and take a child's pose. So forehead rests on the mat. Maybe you bring your arms down by your sides if that feels okay on your body. If not, you just keep them extended out in front of you. All right, extending those arms out in front of you if you haven't already. And come back to plank pose for a moment, just for a moment. So shoulders over your wrists, reaching back through the heels. Nice long plank, maybe the knees are down. Then on an exhale, lower down to the mat. Knees, chest, then chin. And inhale, slither your way through the arms to come into low cobra for a moment. So your palms are by your floating ribs, your elbows are back, your shoulders are up and back, your legs, you're on the tops of your feet, and the inner thighs draw up. Your legs are active. And exhale, bring it down. Inhale, peel head and chest, low cobra, elbows back, shoulders back, heart reaches forward, back of the neck is long. Exhale, bring it down. Last time, inhale. And exhale, bring it down. And then prop yourself up onto your forearms, please. So you're coming into sphinx pose. So your elbows are under your shoulders, your forearms are parallel to one another, and you're still on the tops of your feet. Your legs are active here, so kneecaps lift. Just holding sphinx pose for a moment, just feeling that stretch in the front body again. So no discomfort in your low back. If you do feel some discomfort, you want to engage that belly. That's what we're working on today, right? So low belly lifts towards your chest as your chest lifts away from your belly. Pressing through all 10 fingers evenly. There's a little action of kind of dragging the mat back with your forearms towards your hips as your low belly lifts towards your elbows. More belly work here. We're going to come into forearm plank, but on the tops of your feet. We're going to come in and out of that a couple of times. So on an exhale, I want you to start to gaze down at your navel. As you gaze down at your navel, you start to lift your hips away from the mat. So you're on the tops of your feet and your forearms. And then bring it back down. So you're kind of coiling here. So exhale, bring the gaze down to your navel. That lifts your hips. You're just on the tops of your feet and your forearms. And inhale, bring it back down. Let's do that a couple more times. You got this. Exhale, lift. Inhale, bring it down. Let's do that 2 more times. Exhale. And inhale, bring it down. Last time, can you hold for an extra breath with the hips lifted? Exhale, lift. And bring it back down. Great job. Awesome. And bring the forehead down. Hands back by your floating ribs. Press yourself up onto all fours. Let's take a brief downward facing dog. So lifting hips up and back. You're on your hands and your feet. Your hips are lifting up and back. You can slowly, gently start to pedal out the feet one at a time, just to get into the backs of the legs. And then find some stillness. You can bring both knees to bend a little bit. Reach those hips further up and back. Press through the whole hand. So not just through the wrist, right? The whole hand. Really pressing through the fingers. Lift those hips up and back. Maybe start to straighten out the legs if that's available. But the spine stays nice and long. I want you to feel like you have a nice long spine. shift forward to plank pose again, top of a push-up. Shoulders over your wrists. Maybe lengthening your stance if you need to. And then see if you can come onto your forearms. So maybe the knees come down, that's fine. Coming back onto your forearms. Okay. So big pose here. Interlace your hands out in front of you. Again, you can be on your knees, but the knees are a little further back, right? You can do all of this on your knees, okay? We're going to come into some side plank action. So maybe the legs are straight or maybe you're on your knees. You interlace your hands out in front of you. And I don't want you to collapse in the shoulders. You're pressing the floor away from you. Then release the interlace, but keep your hands at a diagonal. Keep your left hand where it is. So plant the left hand. The right hand rests on top of it for a moment. Turn onto the outer edge of your left foot or your left knee, right? You can do all of this on your knees as well. Then just come onto your side. So you're stacking your legs one on the other. So again, you can be on your knees. Your knees are in line with your elbow, or you're on the outer edge of the foot, and the foot kind of bisects the elbow. You can bring your right fingertips on the mat to start, or bring your hand onto your hip. Side plank here, yes. Amazing work for your obliques, your side waist. Also really great work for your spine. So again, you're not collapsing in that shoulder. You're pressing the floor away from you. Low belly lifts, hips are stacked. Gently bring it back down. Coming into that forearm plank, you can interlace the hands for a moment. Again, maybe you're on your knees. Plant the right hand. So you're planting the right hand, left hand rests on top of it for a moment. Turning onto the outer edge of your right foot, or just coming onto the side of your knee. Foot bisects the elbow, or knee bisects the elbow. You're pressing into that forearm, pressing into the elbow. You rest on your fingertips for a moment on the left side, and then bring that left hand to your hip. Not collapsing in that standing shoulder. Can you press the floor away from you? Get space for your shoulder and your neck. Low belly lifts. And start to bring it back down. Forearm plank for a beat. And then release the hips down. You can make a pillow with your hands for a moment and just rest. Right. Bring your hands by your floating ribs. Make sure your wrists are under your elbows. You're pointing through those through those toes, and the legs are active. Inhale, peel head and chest. Elbows back, shoulders back. Maybe this is plenty. If you want to try to come into a deeper little back bend to stretch the front body, you can try that. You're going to press through the hands, straighten through the arms, and you're just on the tops of your feet and your hands now. So I want your chest to reach forward and no discomfort in your low back. Again, low belly lifts just to elongate the back body. On an exhale, lift those hips up and back to downward facing dog. So you did a lot of core activation. These transitions should be a little easier now. Lifting those hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a child's pose. Knees down, big toes touch, forehead on the mat. Child's pose. All right. From child's pose, just make your way back up to a seat. And just turn yourself around, coming to lie down on your backs again. All right. From your back, hug your knees in towards your chest. You can release the knees, come into like a tabletop position in the legs so the knees are bent. We're going to do some leg lifts here. So option to bring the legs to straight, but I'm going to demo it with legs bent first. So arms are down by your sides. You're going to descend that right heel towards the floor, but don't let it touch. And then inhale, bring it back up. Exhale, bring that left heel towards the floor. See if it can hover. And bring it back up. So maybe the legs are straight. You do the same thing. Exhale, lower the right leg down, straight leg, but don't let it touch the floor. Inhale, bring it back up. Exhale, bring the left leg down. Don't let it touch the floor. And bring it back up. So you decide, do you want legs bent or legs straight? Whatever you prefer. Let's do a couple more each side. Exhale. Inhale, bring it up and switch legs. Exhale. Inhale, bring it up. Let's do 2 more each side. Maybe you alternate between straight legs and bent legs, whatever you prefer. Exhale. Inhale, bring it up. Switch sides, exhale, lower. Inhale, bring it up. And last time each side, exhale. Inhale, bring it up. Exhale. And inhale, bring it up. Hug your knees in towards your chest. And for a brief moment, rock yourself up to a seat. Coming into boat pose for a moment. So, you're going to grab onto the backs of your thighs. Just lean back and bring your feet up away from the mat. So I want you to think low belly lifts and your chest lifts. There's a nice long spine. So I always keep my legs bent for this, and you can maybe release the legs and go like this. This is boat pose. Some of us, like my hip flexors, don't really allow for my legs to straighten, but if your legs can straighten and your spine stays nice and long, then go for it. On an exhale, lower down to half boat, Ardha Navasana. So the feet hover, you're just on your low back, like your sacrum, your upper back and upper body lift away from the mat. Inhale, bring it up. And exhale, lower. Inhale, bring it up. And exhale, lower. Let's do 2 more. Inhale. Exhale, half boat. Inhale. Exhale, half. Hold for an extra breath in this low boat. And then you can release the head back and hug the knees in towards your chest. Let's do another twist again. So same thing that we did in the beginning. So plant the feet, scooch the hips towards the right, hug those knees back in, and drop them towards the left. Arms out to the sides. Maybe the body's a little more warm. You can really square the backs of your shoulders onto the mat. Gently bring those legs back to center, centering out through the hips. Plant the feet for a moment. Scooch the hips towards the left. Bring the knees back in and drop them towards the right. Backs of the shoulders square to the mat as best you can. Gently bring those knees back to center. Plant the feet, centering out through the hips. And just one brief bridge pose here. So feet are flat. Your heels are under your knees again. Arms down by your sides. Lift your forearms away from the mat. Inhale, lift the hips up, pressing through the feet, pressing through the arms. Scooch the flesh of your shoulders under the body. Lift everything up. Inner foot is heavy, inner thighs draw down. And gently release vertebra by vertebra and extend your legs out onto the mat. Shavasana, corpse pose. So again, no matter how brief the practice, give yourself a brief Shavasana, even if it's just for a couple of seconds. Really receive the work that you did. Take a long inhale and hold it at the top. Exhale out your mouth. Just releasing any controlled sense of breath, coming to your normal breath. If you have a couple of minutes to lay here in Shavasana, please take them. If you're ready to get up, just start to wiggle fingers and toes, draw your knees in towards your chest, and make your way up to a comfortable seat. Sitting in what the practice offered you, I thank you so much for joining us. This is Fitscope. Namaste.